When we get to understand that there's nothing new under the sun and that someone before us has been through what we are going through, we feel encouraged to step up. At this point, we need just a little nudge to remind us to live more intentionally and more purposefully. That's one objective of Women Today show. We continue to bring you together with top women leaders to have candid conversations about everyday life. And as they share their life stories and they share things that they have been through, we get encouraged, enlightened, and inspired to do more and to do better. Today, we speak to one outspoken, enlightened, and successful diplomat, Zebib Kavuma, the Deputy Regional Director, UN Women, as she shares her journey on finding herself and what she does. Yeah, welcome to Women Today show. It's an honor and a privilege to actually host you today. I like the outfit that you're having, but before we get to it, maybe you can just say something small about you. So, who's the Bib? And yeah, with your position, what do you do basically?
So thank you so much, Christine. It's
Mhm.
lovely
Mhm.
to be here, and thank you for inviting me. So I'm Zebib Kavuma. I'm the Deputy Regional Director for UN Women, and we cover the region from East to Southern Africa. So we have 13 country offices, but as a region, we cover actually about 22 countries. I'm married. I have 3 kids, 2 boys and a girl,
No.
and trying to weave through teenage life. It's not easy, but we're getting there. We're getting there. And I am basically, definitely a social justice advocate. Working a lot on rights. Women's rights. Empowerment. And love what I do.
Okay.
Yeah, and now with UN Women,
Yeah.
and talking about issues of equality, equity, justice, rights, like I said. Yeah.
Okay. Quite passionate, but before we get there, tell me about your outfit.
Well, I'm from Ethiopia.
Yeah.
So this is one of the common national dresses of Ethiopia.
What do you call the outfit itself in Ethiopia?
It's called
The name.
Abasha Kamis.
I can't repeat it. Same as the earrings as well.
And so and of course
the
earrings designed,
and,
but all those get designed.
Okay.
Different regions do different things. So
Okay.
yeah.
Nice.
But
It's
that's
so
basically what it
beautiful.
is. So I just thought, and it's cold, so
Yeah.
and it keeps you nice and warm. So kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
One stone,
Yeah.
Passion and the weather. But anyway, so you were the Mama Africa for 22 countries. You just talked about that. How did you even start there? How did you know that women empowerment is the course that you want to follow?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not one of those people who at 15 or 20 said, oh, I know what I want to do and I'm going to be X and I'm going to be Y, right? I wasn't that. I think for me, it was a lot my experience in life. I think when I was young, of course, I would watch people. I'm a people person, so I interact a lot with people. I'm very sociable in that way. So I would see, little gestures and things that didn't sit right with me here and there, right?
Okay.
But I mean, not necessarily very conscious, but I would observe them. And then, of course, I would talk to my mom and things like that. And, and my mom would always say, look, no matter what you do in life, make sure you're independent, make sure that you fend for yourself. You don't rely on other people. And, she always used to say that and kind of, give those small encouragements, right? To just make sure, be yourself, have a space in life for yourself, define yourself, that kind of thing. So I kind of had always that in the back of my mind, but never kind of said, oh, I'm going to be an advocate for XYZ, right? I wasn't like that. And then as I explored and saw and talked to people, you know, I kind of course, patriarchy, you feel it, you see it, right? I saw it in my own family, in my extended family, but also my friends, you know, the school, whatever, everything, you know, where you just really saw that girls and boys are being treated differently just by the sheer fact that they're boys and girls. And, you know, so it always used to irritate me a bit, and then I would look into it more and more and more. And so that's how I kind of stumbled across it. And it's really only later in life, like in my 20s, when I kind of said, you know what, this is an area that I want to look into and focus
So you
more.
didn't even study anything?
Yeah, so well, I mean, I did international relations. So I did, for my undergrad, so for my undergrad, I did economics and industrial psychology. And then, you know, kind of started looking into these. And then for graduate school, yes, I did international relations. So then I was a bit more focused, because then through all the experiences I had, I kind of knew I wanted to go in that direction. So yeah, so that's how it kind of started, really. And I think it's my life journey that has kind of taken me there, rather than saying, you know, I know exactly what I'm going to be when I grow up.
Okay, but you feel like you're in the right space and place. Like,
yes, I do. And you know, at the end of the day, for me, it's what you make of it is what counts, right? Because not any two spaces can be the same. So you have to define it. I have to define it, and I have to make it happen and work for me. I believe in that. And of course, you get the wisdom from different spaces. You get the ideas from different spaces, you know. But at the end of the day, I have to define it, and I have to then stand by it, and I have to believe in it to be able to drive it. Yeah.
But how do you run 22 countries? Like, I'm just here sitting and thinking, I don't know how you even afforded time for us right now, because you're managing all these other entities and countries. Okay, first you were the country director, that is Kenya, and then from there now you have moved to the regional aspect. How are you managing that all the time and family, being a wife, a mom? As in, I don't know how you're doing it all.
No, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not doing it alone, right? So credit is given to everybody, because this is something that we do together as an office, you know, as colleagues, you know, and so yes, my role now is more oversight and, you know, providing, you know, advisory services, building capacities, you know, all of that. But and so it doesn't mean necessarily, of course, that I'm investing in every office the same time in the same way, you know, and all of that. So because different countries have different needs. Of course, I mean, we're overstretched, no doubt. I mean, we can use a lot more people to be able to cover. So we don't necessarily cover and support in the way that we ought to. Because we are also thinly stretched, and the mandate is huge. You know, the mandate is very big, and the resources are never there for that level of mandate. So you have to have good partnerships. You have to have strategic partnerships where you can say, I can rely, or I can designate, or I can let go of this so that others can do it, whether they are, you know, NGOs, whether they are just, you know, other civil society stakeholders, whether they are within the UN system. So you have to really work a lot with partners. I mean, it's not something that you yourself are driving all the time and doing.
Okay. But then I'm thinking, growing up, I guess your personality has a lot to play with how you've come into being a social, you know, women empowerment advocate. Let me just say that, because I was trying to listen to your videos and also what you like talking about the most. And I don't know, what do people say about your personality and your current career, being more vocal and being so opinionated, open-minded? I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, you know, the way I look at it is that I am who I am, and I can't change that. I'm not going to change that. And so I go into different spaces. Of course, you know, I manage in the way that I relate to people, because, you know, and sometimes I do it right and sometimes I don't do it right. Because every personality is different, like you said. I'm generally, I mean, people can come to me. I'm easy to be approached, and, you know, I'm approachable in that sense, but I'm deliberate about that, because I don't believe in hierarchy. I don't believe that you know, you can only bring wisdom if you're older and you know, and you've had, you know, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 years of experience and things like that. You know, I think, you know, yes, there is a certain level of wisdom that comes with age, no doubt. And the same way experience shapes your life, no doubt. But we all learn from each other. I have to be open-minded to listen to the younger generation,
sure.
because they come with completely new things that I didn't even know of or I didn't dream of, right? So for me, it's all about openness. But at the same time, I'm not doing it because I'm pleasing somebody, or I'm not doing it because I want to fit in into somebody. I'm doing it because I believe in it. And so some people might agree with me and others might not agree. And it's okay. I'm not expecting everybody to be my friend or to be with me or whatever, right? But what I do and what I believe in, I want people to know, and I want them to address it. Now, if they choose to accept it or not, that's their problem. That's not my problem. That baggage I'm not going to carry. Yeah. And of course, I try to be as cordial, as understanding, as inclusive as possible. But I'm also not perfect. I'm a human being. So there are times also when I don't get it right. But I think that's, for me, what I believe in is what I want to voice. And yes, I think in terms of courage and having the ability to voice, I think it has a lot to do also with, maybe the upbringing and maybe the encouragement that I got also, knowing I'm living in a world that dictates what boys and girls should do and be, and the same with men and women, right? So by virtue of trying to dismantle that and create a space, I think it has given me the opportunity to say what I want to say. I'm not saying that this is right or this is wrong, because it depends on where you are coming from, right? I'm also not trying to compare.
Okay.
But at the same time, I have to have a backbone for myself. And I need to, and I need to be able to express that.
Your sons and daughter must be grateful to have you as a mom, because you're so open-minded and you're willing to change, gender stereotypes around and believe and see a difference and a change in how you're trying to nurture them. Actually, now that I'm here, I'm curious also, what's the main difference between you growing up as a young girl and now your daughter, looking at yourself around the same age? What are the main differences from from way back, the history, and now? Like culture-wise and social, the society is shaped, and there's so many differences. I don't know what's the one that you've noticed. You're like, this generation is so different.
This generation is definitely different. I think, of course, you take always the learnings, or I take the learnings from my upbringing, right? But I'm also very cognizant of the fact that it's not static. Even culture is not static, right? There's an evolution. And I think in today's world, with technology and with accessibility of information at your fingertips, I cannot pretend that my kids only know a certain amount of anything at a certain age, right? I mean, what my daughter at 13 knows, I probably didn't know until I was probably 18 or 19, right? Just virtue by not having that kind of access to information. And now, where the world is so connected, I have to remind myself that I can't be also so sheltered, right? That I have to actually be more open and have different kinds of conversations, maybe even at a younger age, and not kind of feel like, oh well, this is taboo, you can't talk about this now, you have to grow up a bit more before we can say anything and things like that, so I mean, it's difficult, to know that, for example, the gadgets. I mean, I get very frustrated that they spend a lot of time on the gadgets. But at the end of the day, that's all they know, right? They don't know anything else. So for them, their main means of communication is the gadget. So now the question comes, how do you balance that, right? How do I balance my own understanding and interpretation of how I would want them to be vis-a-vis what they understand and they can do and can be. So I think it's a very different way of engaging, unlike how I engage with my parents, for example. It can't be the same way that I'm engaging, because they know too much. They ask questions. They are more bolder.
And if you don't answer, then they'll go online, Google, and find out more information.
So so there's all of that. So I have to keep reminding myself, and sometimes like I said, I don't always do it right? But I have to remind myself that this is a different way of growing up, with different interests, with different possibilities, with different exposure. So I can't also kind of limit that and minimize it. And yes, there are some things that I would love them to do. But I also have to accept that if this is not what they really want to do, then I should really cultivate what it is that they're interested in doing. But I think the one thing that I do, though, consistently is to demonstrate that it's not about being a girl or a boy. It's about what drives you. It's about your interest. It's about your skill sets. It's about your vision, your passion, you know, and define yourself. Be somebody. Don't be, you know, don't live a shadow or under the shadow of somebody else, right? So I don't want, for example, any of my children to say, you're mirroring your brother or your sister or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Be yourself, try to define and find things that interest you, not because it interests somebody else, but because it interests you. So those kind of things I try to inculcate in them, and I try to push. And the same way that, you know, treating a person, it's about treating an individual. It's not about treating a girl or a boy, right? And you, of course, like we always say, you want to be you treat people in the way that you want to be treated, right? So understand what it means to be respectful, understand what it means to be appreciative of the person as well, and understand that they're different and they don't need to be like you, right? But appreciate that difference and make something out of that, right? But don't expect people to just like you because it's you. Yeah, it doesn't always work like that. Yeah, and you will have some friends, you know, who will be with you, and you will have other friends who you just have to let go because they're just negative energy and they're just not bringing the best out of you either. Yeah,
I like this. You're teaching them so much, like maturity at their teenage years. Like these are the kind of decisions we're trying to make right now. Yet you're teaching them at a very early stage. I guess also preparing them for what? The mental stability of the future, because right now there's a lot, even when we talk about mental health and all these other things that are happening around the world. I guess you're dealing with the issues that are, you know, are really affecting the young people today. And I guess now I know I try to have interviews where I mix the social aspect, personal aspect, the work aspect, because it's just a conversation. And then also that makes me think of the issues that are currently affecting women. Which one do you I don't know, which one would you say from out of the 22 countries or from your years of experience you hold so closely, and this is a problem that women are really facing society today, and you always must address it, you know, everywhere you go?
I think I would say it's violence, issues of gender-based violence, or like we say, you know, violence against women and girls in any form, in any shape. I think that is something that it's just there and it's just not leaving us, you know. I mean, even if I look at UN Women, even pre-UN Women, UNIFEM, you know, I mean, a lot of investment has gone into that. And still you find we're not where we should be. And a lot of the times it's just, you know, it's just gender, right? It's just, you know, you are more vulnerable, you know, and somebody is just exploiting you for that. And I think this pressure that's put on women having multiple roles, and then if you don't achieve those roles, you know, or if you don't, you know, kind of respond to those roles, you know, then there are all of these issues, you know, and whether it's psychological violence, you know, whether it's sexual violence, you know, and abuse, whether it's economic violence, you know, I mean, there are many ways of looking at it, right? But I think this is an area that somehow harmful traditional practices, you know, like FGM, you know, early child marriage, you know, forced marriage even, you know, where you cannot even negotiate, right? Reproductive health and rights, you know, all of these things are just come into play, you know, where women are really don't have always the ability to be able to make those decisions. Either they don't have the information, they don't have resources, they don't have access to services, you know, and the judiciary, the police, you know, those who are meant to protect individuals are not protecting them, right? So where does one go? And now you see with COVID, I mean, you see how being indoors, being in the same space has skyrocketed also, you know, these issues of you know, violating any kind of rights that you have, you know. And you know, and of course it's different in different spaces, in different you know, environments. Of course it's different, but at the end of the day, why should a woman suffer for all that we give, for all that we do? I mean, without us, there is no population. Okay, I mean, I always tell people,
nice way to put it.
I mean, if it wasn't for women, you wouldn't be there. None of us would be here, right? So we can't even appreciate that, you know. And then you have these issues where if you talk to men and they tell you, oh, my daughter, I mean, if anybody raped my daughter, if anybody beat my daughter, anybody did anything to my daughter, I'm going to kill them, right? Or my mom or my whatever. But then But if it's somebody else that
else,
is not close
yeah,
to you,
to
then
them
it's
it's
okay,
okay.
you see.
Yeah.
And this is, I think, where the issues come in. Why are we separating these things? It should just be a no-go zone, no matter what, right? So I think this area is really, it's a complicated area, because it's also personal and private and also public, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's violence that we see in the public space, whether it's even now through internet, you know, cyber crimes and violences and things like that.
Yeah.
But you also have it in the domestic private space. So now who interferes in that private space? Who has the right to interfere in that space, you know?
Yeah.
And that is where I think it becomes also quite tricky, right? I mean, you know, when do you tell, when do you seek for support, you know? When do you know it's not right? Because I mean, even these issues of love and everything, you know, I beat you because I love you,
Because,
you know, I you know, whatever. I mean, you know, there are many ways of rationalizing violence, but we know it's not right, right? We know it's not right, and sometimes it's just surely because you're just a woman and you're weaker, or you don't have this and you don't have that people prey on you, and then where do you go? What do you do?
Okay.
You know?
With all these years of experience, how, at least over a decade or 2 decades, do you say there's hope?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
There has to be hope, because if there's no hope, we can't do what we're doing. You know, to have stamina to continue to fight for any kind of right, there has to be light at the end of the tunnel, and you have to believe that the world is changing. And we know the world is changing because we have proof that it's changed. Maybe not in the manner that we want to. It's not accelerated. It's a bit slow, but it is changing. But when you think about it, it's also historical, right? I mean, seeds that were planted long time ago cannot be changed and transformed overnight. So there's a certain level of patience that is needed, but you can't be also so patient that you lose focus, right? So that's why we're also pressing, pressing on societies to say, look, it's everybody's role to make this change. It's not an institution's role, it's an individual role, it's a communal role. Because if I believe in patriarchy, or I believe in kind of that gender stereotyping that we're talking about, it doesn't matter what law is there. I will still practice it in my space, right? So we also have to kind of internalize and take that responsibility as individuals to say, okay, I want to look into this. Maybe I can change certain habits. You know, maybe there are certain areas where I can be a bit different. There are others who tell you why. The status quo is very good. We don't want to rock the boat, right? So you see, you can't take everybody on at the same time, right? But the more advocacy, the more awareness, the more data there is, the more evidence there is that women and men play different roles, but on equal, you know, platforms or opportunities, then I think behaviors will start changing as well. Because a lot of people tell you, oh, now that we've included women, we actually see more growth, or we actually see more changes. Because we are one-dimensional. A man cannot possibly know what a woman needs, or what she feels, or how it is, and the same vice versa. We might also not, right? So if we come together and we do it together, the chances of us prospering, of course, is greater. But when half of the population are women and you leave them behind, you can't expect to have that accelerated progress. It's just not going to happen.
It can't be sustainable. There's no development, nothing, no growth, nothing. And you've mentioned something in regards to how life is changing. Life is not the same. It's not static. And we have COVID-19 as a way of showing us that this pandemic, you know, through the pandemic, we've learned that life can change, you know. So here, I'm also now going back again to the personal aspect of you. How have you dealt with change? Not necessarily COVID-19, but just things that might come your way unexpectedly, you know. If we've talked about violence, you might be a young girl and you never thought you'd ever get into a relationship that is violent, or you never think you'd ever experience any kind of gender issue. Life has changed in a certain way. How are you going to adapt, you know, get back to yourself and get to where you have to go to, you know?
I mean, you know, you are right. I mean, change, you know, things will be thrown at you. You can't plan your life from A to Z, right? You can't. And I think, and of course, with that, maturity comes in. You know, as you grow, you learn to also know which battle to fight, right? Not every battle you can solve and fight. But I think, you know, somewhere there has to be positivity. I think there has to be an element of an attitude of gratitude, you know, and we need to be thankful for the things that we have, because it's very easy to complain about many things. But when you then introspect and look at yourself and say, you know, I'm 1,000 times better off than the next person somewhere, right? So I think when these things get thrown at you, it's a reflection point, I think, for me in life, to say, okay, why did this happen? How do I deal with it? What is the positive element that I can take out of that, even though it's negative, right? And who can I surround myself with? And what is the support structure that I have available to me? It doesn't always mean that it has to be my husband, or has to be my children, or my family, my sisters and brothers and what have you. It could even be other people, you know? And do I have those kinds of go-tos, right? Who can also lift me up, who are there to you know, I can confide in, but who are there also to carry me, right? And just show me also that, you know, it's never that serious, really, because many people go through all of these things, right? But I think it's not easy. Yeah, it's not easy. But you need to surround yourself also with positivity, and trying to see the good out of the bad. And that, I think, comes also with life experience, right? I don't think if you had interviewed me when I was 20, I would say the same thing, right? But I think that's what it is. At the end of the day, I mean, you get to a certain point in your life where you have to make decisions in terms of what matters to you in life. And not just because you have a job or a passion or an opportunity, but what really matters to you in life. And then how do you surround yourself with those people who matter? And then you do and drive the things that matter to you. And something always has to give. So, you know, and I think it's a continuous, you know, reflection point and learning, right? I don't think I can ever, for myself, I don't think I can say I've arrived and now I know, and it's all perfect. No, you know, even as I go through these motions, I still learn. I still try to pick up from different spaces, different cultures, different people, you know, and get the strength from that. But I tend to be sometimes a bit practical, a bit too practical.
You are very practical,
and just kind of, you know, get to it, resolve it, and move on, right? And sometimes it's not good, because you need also that bit of empathy and things like that. And I'm working on that, because my patience level is also not very high. So I'm trying to work on all of these. Now I'm more aware about it, and I try to work on it. But I think, I think it you know, you have to have a certain level of gratitude. I think without that, it becomes very difficult.
You talked about having known that, well, your patience is something that you need to deal with. Is there any other thing that maybe you'd want to, again, talk about, personal issue, that maybe you should have dealt with differently in your 20s or 30s? Let me put 30s, because these conversations target 25 to 35 ideally. When around that age, you know, something you'd have dealt with differently. Maybe you'd want to tell somebody that, my dear, if I was your age right now, I wouldn't be doing that, or I wouldn't see it that way.
I mean, you know, we always get asked this question, right? I mean, it's almost like hindsight is 2020, right? You know, if you could do it all over again, what would you do differently? And the truth is, I would say nothing, because it's my journey. I mean, what has brought me to here is all of that, right? So if I do anything differently, I don't know. I wouldn't be here, maybe I would be somewhere else, right? I don't know. And I think what I'm trying to say is, I'm just grateful that I had these opportunities that led me to be here today, because those opportunities were given to me in certain ways, right? I mean, my parents, we were privileged that we were working in spaces where we could travel, where we could see different things. You know, I went to good schools, you know, I had a good education, you know, all of that are opportunities that came my way. Now, if I didn't have that, if I never left Ethiopia, for example, I don't know.
You don't know.
Yeah, I might be a completely different person. So I can't, you know, I don't want to look at it like that. What I want to say is, I learned through my journey, and I learned through the opportunities and obstacles that came my way. So it cannot be the same for any other person.
I like that. I know the tagline for Women Today show is, on your journey. Like, it's your journey. It's your journey. You can't change it. And I like the honesty in your question. I mean, your answer, that you cannot change it. That's just how your journey was. But then I also want to give you a chance to brag. The one thing that you have actually not one, you can even say 10, but the things that you're proud of, and you can say that this I did right, you know.
Wow. Okay. I mean, look, you know, there are many things I think in my career that I can say I'm proud of and things, but I think if I really look deep into myself, I think it would be my children. I think because my children are my children.
Yeah.
Those are things that nobody can take away from me. You know, careers can change, relationships can come and go, but my children will always be with me. They'll always be my children, no matter who they are and how they turn out to be. And I think raising children in whatever circumstance and environment is not easy. And you know, and I respect people. Some people don't want to have kids, and it's fine. Some people try and they can't. Some people, whatever, you know, everybody handles it differently. But I feel blessed, and and I'm proud of my kids. I'm proud of the way they turned out, and that they're still, you know, with me, you know, with us, you know, they listen to us, that they really confide in us, you know, all of that. And just to see them evolve, you know, from a tiny baby to becoming adults in their own way, you know, and having their own minds and things like that. I think for me, that's my achievement, because that's the legacy I also leave behind, right? Because I'm not going to be here forever. And everything else, I mean, you know, there are many other things, definitely, you know, but I think my kids are really,
they're lucky to have you.
I think. Thank you.
They're so lucky to have you. And I really understand the value of a parent or a mother to their child, because I'm also a product of a very empowering woman. And yeah, I guess you're doing great. But then there's me, who has the privilege of being with women who, well, have been exposed and enlightened. Having met you right now, you know, that's also another opportunity for me to learn. And there are women who work in your space, they have the opportunity to learn. But then there are those who, I don't know, there's so many women at the grassroots level now. Let me not call them grassroots, but just mid-level and young women. And they're trying to reach out. They're trying to look up to women in Africa, you know, who can mentor them and coach them. And one thing that Women Today Show tries to do as well is to reduce that gap, because during the year, let me just backtrack it. When the year began, we were nominated for the Zuri Awards.
So, oh, nice!
Yeah, so thankfully I won the award.
Oh, fantastic! Yes, congratulations!
Yeah, but then in the process, I decided to ask women, you know, and I was asking from last year, this year as well, which woman in the world inspires you? They mentioned all these beautiful names, but these are women who are the international space, you know. Michelle Obama is actually very famous in Nairobi right now. But there's then a gap that is existing, that many women, even in Kenya, in Africa, are not seeing the top women, or maybe they don't know how to meet and mingle, you know, and learn from them and be mentored. And that's why Women Today shows here. But I don't know whether this space is enough. Maybe there's something you can say, and how can young women like I and many others, maybe younger, you know, can be able to reach and access older women without having really the privilege of working next to them, close to them, having a contact or somebody they can ask. This is something that is really on my mind, and maybe we can just you can say something about that. Sure. Yeah.
You know, I mean, of course, mentorship. I mean, you know, nowadays the talk is always mentors, right? I mean, I believe, definitely mentors are needed in life, definitely. But it's a two-way street, you know. Not everybody wants to be a mentor. Not everybody wants to be mentored. Yeah. So the thing is, and then it's a relationship. That's how I see it. It's not just a fickle one of, oh, I had access to X and I'm happy and I talk to her and whatever. No, mentorship is a journey as well, because whoever is mentoring you wants to see you grow, and you're not going to grow in one conversation. You're not going to grow in two conversations. Yeah? You're going to grow over a period of time. And mentorship is also reciprocal. I need to also learn from you in the same way that you learn from me. So yes, as much as there is wisdom in having mentors who are older, there's also wisdom in having mentors who are your peers. There's wisdom in having mentors who are younger than you, because everybody brings different aspects of life into the conversation, right? And so if I want to be whole, I need to look at it from different angles. And I think this aspiration of, oh, because she's made it, because she's defined by I don't know, the media or by popularity or whatever, that she's it. No. There are many, many women who are quiet and do amazing things. And like you said, and their voices are not necessarily being heard, and maybe they don't want it to be heard. But so I think a little bit of homework is needed. So if you are the person who wants to identify a mentor, you need to know what you want to get out of it. Why do you want that mentorship? What is it that you can also give? You know, and do a bit of that kind of background, kind of a bit, I don't want to call it research, but, you know, just a bit of a check and see. and have different types of mentorships, right? Because it's also not a one aspect, or it's not a linear kind of a conversation. You can have, like I said, different mentors at different levels. I mean, even your sister could be your mentor, or your whoever, right? It doesn't have to be famous, known people and what have you. I mean, that's an aspiration. It's great.
Yeah.
But like you said, work with the people that you have around you. Within your family, you could have people's mentors, your teachers, your schools, your friends, I mean, you know, when you look at it from that perspective, you can actually identify a lot of people, and you can start with that circle and then eventually lead you to other networks, right? Even your parents may know other people that you don't know, and just by asking what have you, you might get it, right? But I think you need to just start in your space. I mean, it's good to have those aspirations that, yeah, one day I want to meet Michelle Obama, but I mean, really, is she going to define you? I mean, in the meantime, do what you can, right? So by, of course, talking to different people, but I think what I'm trying to say is the articulation of what you want to get. I mean, even the area or the aspect, because you can't just kind of be like, oh, I want to be mentored. Yeah, or I love women's empowerment, I want to be mentored. Anybody who's doing women's empowerment, mentor me. You know, it doesn't work like that, right? You need to know what really is it that drives you. So I think if you do a bit of that homework, you can find the right people. They are there, but you need to seek them. They're not necessarily going to come to you, right? And like I said, it's a two-way relationship. I think in every mentorship, you should also be able to ask yourself, what can I also teach the other person, right? It can't just be that they're only giving you. They also need to get something from you.
But is that really something that, I don't know, I haven't met okay, apart from you, an woman who's older than me who can believe that there's something that I might actually give, you know,
But absolutely, you have to. You have to, because your experience is very different. So there are things that, I mean, I can't experience everybody and everything in life, right? So you might have an aspect or an idea or an area that can be cultivated that I may have never thought of, you know, and so in those conversations, all of these things come out. But that's why I'm saying I don't believe in hierarchy. I don't believe that because I'm older, I'm necessarily the one who knows it and I'm the expert. No, I have a lot of learnings to do as I go, right? Because I learned from others and I give to others, but I'm still learning. I'm still learning. So I can feel I can learn with my peers. I can learn with younger people. I can learn with even older people than me. Absolutely. But you have to triangulate all of that, right? I don't believe that it's just I'm young and you're old and therefore we have to match. You know, there are many learnings in different ways that can make you a stronger person and a more holistic person.
Wow. That was deep. That was nice. And now maybe I should ask you any question that you've always wanted to be asked and you're never asked, and now you want to answer it.
You know, I mean, you know, I don't know if I can answer it, but what I would say is that, you know, this question of women always being asked about work-life balance. My question really is, why are men not asked the same question?
Okay.
Yeah, so because we always talk about women's multiple roles. And where are men's multiple roles? Why are, you know, women are always asked, even, how will you manage your household if you're going to go to work? You know, how are you going to, I don't know, you know, manage your family?
Do you believe that, okay, maybe this is where you need to change my mind about gender stereotypes as well, that women are the ones that are known to multitask, that it's natural to multitask for a woman, and it's scientifically proven? I'm not sure. But do you believe that's possible, but then guys can't multitask?
I mean, you know,
then maybe that's why then women are, you know, are asked, well, how are you managing multiple roles, and the man is not, because ideally then they're not genetically
I don't think so. I don't believe in that, because a lot of the behaviors that we are emulating and that we are portraying are learned behaviors. Okay, because like I say, if you have two babies and you wrap them in white, are you going to tell who's a boy and a girl?
No.
You can't, right? I mean, they scream the same way. They poo, they vomit, they do all those things. It doesn't mean because she's a girl, she's going to do this more, and because he's a boy, he's going to do that more, right? So a lot of the behaviors that are inculcated in us are really as a result of what the society believes in. So immediately it's pink and blue. Immediately it is cars and dolls. Immediately, you see, all of that is behavior, right? That's not something that's innate in you. You are not born to say, I want a doll, I want a doll, I want a car, I want a truck, no. And then when a girl manifests different behaviors, then she's a tomboy.
Yeah.
So why is she a tomboy? Why can't she play with cars? Why can't she be interested in motorcycles? Why not? Yeah. If a boy demonstrates some emotion, then he's weak.
Yeah.
He's crying like a girl.
Yeah.
Why? He's a human being. He has emotions. Why can't he express them? So and as we grow up, it gets defined and redefined in us, right? So we end up multitasking because it's expected.
It's expected of us.
Yeah. So then you are expected to go to the kitchen, make that and whatever. If somebody comes and visits you and your brother and you are sitting, you are expected to go and get something. All of these things. So these are all learned behaviors, right? They're not scripted anywhere to say that the boy cannot get a cup of coffee, right? You walk into a room and they see you are a woman, young woman. They will say, "Oh, Christine, please, can you get us some water?" Why don't they ask John to get the water? He's also young and flexible, right? So you see, so for me, all I'm trying to say is that men also have a role to play. And that role should also be defined for men. And we should also open those spaces to discuss that, right? Why can't my husband take care of my child? Why does it have to be me? If my children go to school, why do they have to call me only or call me first? Why can't they call my husband? He's also a father and I'm a mother, right? You see all of these things.
I like all the things you're saying. So beautiful.
Yeah, you see.
Have people ever just sat down and said, "No, you have too much. Your audacity is just too much." Like,
no, but I mean, I'm just
I have a cousin actually who's more vocal, like as vocal as you. And we were sitting in a baby shower, and she started saying, I'm happy that you're in this baby shower, but I just want to say that it's not a must for you to have children when you don't want. This is a setting of people are celebrating a child. But she was quick to say, you know what? It's okay for you as a woman not to have children. It's okay for that. There's all these ideas that we need to challenge and all. But I wonder how your experience has been being in a space where you want to challenge all these norms that we already know, and there are people who are sitting in and saying, "I feel like you're too much," you know.
Like I said, I define myself. I'm not there for people to define me. Some will accept me and some will reject me, and which is fine. And I have no problem with that because not everybody believes in what I believe. But I know I have my role to play. So I will talk to you and I'll try and convince you or try to put the facts to you. What you take out of it is, of course, that's your prerogative. I mean, I can't say, Christine, you must and you should and you whatever. No, I can't do that. But I equally believe I shouldn't be silenced because maybe some things are different and they're not the norm or they're not the status quo, because it's always easy to be status quo mode. It's always easy. But you have to rock the boat. If you don't rock the boat, nothing will move, right? And I'm rocking the boat to make my life easier and the life of others easier, because I'm experiencing it on a daily basis, whether it's racism, whether it's discrimination, whether it's sexism, whether it's, whatever the isms are, we in one way are a victim of that in many ways, right? So if I don't have these conversations in my own household, with my own community, with my own friends, what is the point? It's not something that I want to preach, on a podium somewhere. It's something that I want to live and see that changes are really being made, right? And some people will tell you, no, this is wrong. That's not true. I like it the way it is. And that's fine. And I'm not expecting every woman to be on that bandwagon or whatever, because if it suits you, it suits you, and you have the right to define your life. But all I want is that people have equal opportunity. Let the girls not have no opportunity because they are girls. Let them be given the opportunity. They take it. If they succeed, they succeed. If they don't succeed, that's fine too. And the same with the boys. Let the boys have that opportunity. So it's more about opening spaces for women and girls to participate and be included. And I'm very aware that it doesn't mean that because you're a woman, you should get it on a silver platter or that it should be made free to you. No. But some spaces are so locked and they're so closed that, and women have the right to be there and they should be there, because when decisions get made about the society is formed of men, women, boys, and girls. They're not just formed of men. So if a man makes the decision for women, boys, and girls, believe me, it's not going to be fulfilled, right? But if both of them do, then you can feed off of each other.
Yeah.
And of course, there are some things you'll do right, there are some things that you'll do wrong, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I want people to be in that conversation and in that space, right? Because you can always add value to that. So it's really about that. And sometimes you have to be bold. Sometimes you have to also be quiet. You also need to know when to scream and when to shout, right? Because it does backfire. I mean, look at the Me Too movement, right? I mean, there are these kinds of movements that come, but there's also a backlash on that, right?
Serious backlash.
But at the same time, you have to say it like it is. You can't sugarcoat everything. Sometimes you just have to say it like it is, because that's the fact. And are people ready to listen? It depends on how it affects them, right? If it does change their lives, maybe they don't want to listen. If it doesn't change their lives, they say, yeah, I hear you. Okay. But for me, really, the conversations have to start within your own circle. Your friends, because even your friends might not believe in what you do.
That's true.
So we have to have these conversations, and I don't think we can't afford to not have the conversations. And then at least, drive that a bit. But you have to start somewhere.
Wow, this has been good. This has been great. I learn a lot. I'm happy to always be the first person to, gain all this wisdom and then share it with the world. Thank you so much, Zebib. Thank you so much. I'm even more charged. The word now that'll stick to my mind, even if I forget everything else, is rock the boat. At least if you want to achieve anything and make a change, rock the boat. If you don't do it, then the answer will always be no, and no progress is made. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank
it's
you.
Been an honor.
Thank you.
And that's it from Women Today Show. Thank you very much for staying glued to your screen and watching this to the end. You've heard it from Zebib Kavuma. And if you forget everything, please remember to rock your boat. And also off camera, she has said, why fit in when you can stand out? So please remember to stand out and shine through and make an impact, make a change in whatever capacity you're in. Thank you very much, Zebib. And I also want to extend so many other thank yous. Thank you so much to Mesh Events Guru. Thank you so much for Edwin, aka Ongde. Thank you so much for the production team and the editing. Thank you so much to Bonte Media. I appreciate you all. Thank you so much for making Women Today what it is today. And that's all for today. But I want to remind you to go to our YouTube channel, subscribe, share with a friend who might need this conversation, share with a friend, tell us if you have been enlightened from it, share your comment, your feedback, reach out to us on all our social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and we are here to engage in more conversations, and we're here to listen from you. So share, subscribe, and until next time, bye-bye.